So, what inspired the story for Invisible in a Bright Light was the time when I worked in the opera house in Copenhagen. I was 24 years old and I had been given the job of designing the costumes for the Mikado. And I went to Copenhagen when it was exceedingly beautiful. It was snowing, it was magical. And the theatre itself was an immensely magical place, full of history and things that fascinated me. And in the auditorium, there was this beautiful, beautiful chandelier. And I am slightly nerdish in a way. And I became rather obsessed with this chandelier. And I wondered, why did it shine so bright? I've seen lots and lots of chandeliers, and none of them, I can assure you, shone like that one. Many of them just go a bit manky and dull. There's quite a bit of effort to get up there to clean a chandelier. And I was told this story about the chandelier, that in about 1870 there had been an opera and the scenery was very hard to get into the theatre, and it meant that the audience were held back for 15 minutes for coming into the auditorium. And in that 15 minutes, the chandelier became loose from its moorings and it fell and crashed into the stalls. And it would have been a disaster, a huge disaster. And the opera became known as the Saviour. And after that, they moved the chandelier to go up into the ceiling, into the dome. So it was never there when the audience were in. And being curious, I wanted to know where it went. And one day, it was just after lunch, me and my designer went up into the dome. We went all the way up masses of stairs, past the corps de ballet, right up, up, up. And then we came to a broom cupboard, literally a little broom cupboard. And we opened the door and it led up to this flight of stairs to find ourselves in a dome, in the dome. And it was most magnificent space. And in the middle of the dome hung like a sort of brooding bird, this enormous glass chandelier. And all around the dome were windows, so you could see out all through Copenhagen, see the domes and the bronze and the blue roofs of Copenhagen. It was just beautiful. The snow was falling, and there were pigeons. Lots of birds had come in, because some of the glass panes were broken. It was bitterly cold, and there were little washing lines hanging up with chamois leathers clicked onto them, and a little old lady with a treadmill sewing machine, just sewing. We all looked amazed to see her up there, and no one quite knew what she was doing. And she said she had been up there for a very, very long time, and that her job was to clean the chandelier. And to that end, the opera house got her a quart of gin, because that's the best way to clean glass with. And I felt very worried about this, and whether I had discovered something, because she was on the payroll and they had never noticed that she was there. And she did live up in this dome of the opera house. And it was a very magical, it felt to me that I'd walked into a fairy tale. In fact, when I look back at that time, quite a lot of it made me feel like I walked into a fairy tale. It was very, very wonderful. And I used all my knowledge of theatre, which is quite a lot because I worked in it for a long time, in this book. And I think what I feel about theatres they are places of dreams, of imagination, of possibilities, of people working together to make the impossible become possible. And in a way, that's what all good writing should be, making the impossible possible. And one thing I think about imagination, which I think is very important, is it's only a muscle. It's something we have to use. And if you don't use it, it tends to sort of go away, becomes a bit dull. It will run on train track lines. It won't fly free. But imagination is really one of the greatest things we have. And you may be stuck indoors, and you may not be able to go out. But in your imagination, you can travel anywhere and everywhere you want to. Thank you.